willing to improve enough to overcome these challenges.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, criminals are better players. They just are.
I just found the intro. Welcome to the Mongrel Court Star System Piracy Talk Show. I'm your host, Agents Letty. The Mongrel Court is a podcast-style video series which is released at the end of every month on our Mongrel Squad YouTube channel, where we pick a topic relevant to piracy within the Star Citizen universe and discuss its impact on gameplay within Star Citizen. We may dabble in a bit of light theory crafting, but the purpose of this show is to focus on topics that impact piracy gameplay within Star Citizen now and the near future. This month's topic of discussion is crime and consequence. So let's get on with the show. Alright, welcome to the February edition of the Mongrel Court. I'm Agent Sletty, and today's court discussion is crime and consequence. Now, with me today to discuss these topics is on my right, your left, Magma Hindenburg. Next to him with the skull and no crossbones, just the skull. Looking a bit thin there, we got Nolat. And the last person, the one who doesn't like to show their face, you might already be familiar with some of his exploits, mainly his skill with a railgun, is Leevah. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Alright, let's get cracking straight into this, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't like to take too long with these things. So, the topic, crime and consequence. So we've got 3 discussion points here to talk about. 2 of them have been brought from our previous Mongrel Court video, which is on our YouTube channel. If you guys want to check it out, there should be a card popping up in the corner of the video right about now. But today's topics or discussion points for the topic of crime and consequence is how do you feel about the current consequences for your actions as pirates, i.e. bounties and prison, staying one step ahead of the law, and what would you like to see CIG do to improve the criminal gameplay experience in the next 6 to 12 months. So what we're going to do, this is pre-recorded, so we'll break this down into each topic on its own. So we're going to start with the first one, which is how do you feel about the current consequences for your actions as pirates? Floor is open to all of you.
Well, I think it's safe to say that there's a lot of room for improvement on the current system. The current crime stat system is very blunt, and it strikes without nuance. Any crime stat will declare you an outlaw, which means that anyone can kill you without consequence. In medieval Europe, some countries didn't have capital punishment. Instead, the most severe punishment a man could get was to be declared an outlaw, because the result would usually be the same, because anyone could kill them without consequence. So the law system, if you look in real life, law has a lot of nuances, and those are very hard to replicate in a computer game, which is why if you look at games that have law systems like Grand Theft Auto, Hitman, sort of, it's dumbed down a lot, and it's made more simple than our very complex law system that we see in the real world.
Yeah, I sort of feel that the current crime system is a little bit two-dimensional. I mean, you have your criminals and your not criminals, and it's a little bit difficult to extrapolate that to what the game will be. But in my opinion, it's like if you get a crime, your only place to go is Grim Hex, period. If you want to respawn anywhere, it's Grim Hex. And bounty hunters can go there, everyone can go there. So it's like, if this is supposed to be the criminal area, why are you allowing everyone to go there? And I mean, it's going to get a lot more difficult once we get server meshing in and stuff, where we're just going to have one place to spawn. I know it's just Stanton right now, but it's a little bit difficult to say that it's in a good place for even the immediate future. So I think they do have to do a lot of things. That being said, I mean, there definitely has to be consequences. I mean, in no way should I just be going up and shooting someone in the face without a consequence. That has to happen. And even with the bringing Klesher in, which I've spent a lot of time in, I think it's a good idea, because now I think twice for doing stupid stuff. Though,
but
I mean, it's a bit of a revolving door, right?
I mean, the issue with the crime stat system is that it goes from level 1 to 5, but like even if you get a level 1, which is is really easy to get a crime stat 1, like any kind of misfire that you did not intend will give you a crime stat 1, which declares you an outlaw, which means that anyone can kill you and send you to prison. So even though they have this scale from 1 to 5, like number 1 is still really, really bad, and like you're being declared an outlaw, which is a very severe and strict punishment historically. And I would love to see some more a more nuanced scale, where if you have a crime stat 1, you have the ability to redeem yourself, turn yourself in, pay off your fines. Like if you only have a crime stat 1 or 2, they should not try to kill you. They should try to capture you, make sure that you pay your fine, force you to surrender, all that. Like, because currently it's like, as soon as you get a crime stat 1, then it's pointless to not get, like, why wouldn't you go for a crime stat 5? You already have the crime stat 1. And the
worst
punishment
part with that
for
too,
having a crime stat 1 and crime stat 5, the difference is you spend more time in Klesher, but everyone will still try to kill you.
the other ridiculous part about that is if you have a crime stat 1, you have to clear it because you're going to get shot. So you got to go to any of the 4 places, and generally have to kill 8 NPCs and get 8 murders just to be able to fix you bumped into somebody. It's like getting a fender bender getting shot in the face.
Yeah. I think we've got to go back to the real consequences of what we do. I think we've got 4 big categories. It's of course bounty hunters with the God Eye marker, prisons with all the bugs. Then we've got also limited landing zones, as Nolat was saying, and we also have security NPC spawning on top of us. Even if you're in deep space, they will show up. Who knows how? And I think the consequences are alright, because that's what we need to really make every crime worth it. If you want to do it, there is a consequence, and that's you think about it twice before doing it. And I think that the prison now is okay, even if it's maybe too early to have one in game. I think it's still okay if the ways to get out of jail work. So if you can deposit your minerals, if you can break your way out, or if you can do the mission for the merits, But I think that a lot of people is still complaining about griefing and all that when we have prisons, and prisons were the reason to kind of stop those griefers. So I mean, why is people still complaining when we've got prison in game? Especially when you think about prison as an outlaw, it's like a soft ban, because you're blocked from the main game loop for an X amount of time. While if you're a bounty hunter or anyone else, you just respawn, you keep playing. And instead, no, you're being stopped from the game. And, it's okay, but people must acknowledge that it's a real consequence. When I die, every time I make a video, I have to log out after that if I fail, because I die and I end up in jail for 10 hours. That's it, And I'd like to see some more consequences, even for other players, not for just outlaws. Especially, as Magma said, just one crime stat and makes you end up in jail,
But the thing is,
kind of want to lead in here is because it kind of brings up what you guys have been discussing so far has actually been quite broad in terms of crime and consequence, like the consequences for players in general. Leevah, you were starting to kind of allude to it, but I think, like, how do you guys feel about the consequences for your actions as pirates when you're out there doing piracy? You know, like robbing people, essentially. Like, we know what the consequences are for having a crime stat for doing breaking the laws within the jurisdictions of Stanton, but like when you're performing piracy, like where do you guys like feel like the consequences are actually appropriate and where they need to be kind of like addressed?
So the first thing that comes to mind is that if they're trying to build a law system that has a basis from our current real life law system, then they like currently all the crimes stack, which isn't really realistic if you look how the law works. So for example, if you're assaulting someone in real life and it leads to a deadly outcome, you're not going to get charged for assault. Instead, you get charged for manslaughter. And at the same time, if you're being charged for assault, you're not being charged for one assault for every hit you land. Instead, it's one instance, it's one session of assault. And currently, it just keeps stacking. Like currently, if you keep firing on a ship, it will just stack different aggravated assaults on top of each other. So when you do clear your crime stats, it's going to be a very long list of aggregated assaults. And if you're operating an EMP, for example, then you will get a crime stat for every single EMP you fire. Which, like, we did we stopped a caterpillar the other day, and I ended up with a bounty because I was firing distortion weapons, which are non-lethal weapons, and EMPs, which are also non-lethal. And I ended up with a bounty because they just kept stacking on top of each other until I got a crime stat 3. So that is definitely something that should be addressed and made more realistic. I understand why the system is like it is currently, because it's easier to build that way, and it's easier to code a system where it just stacks. But Star Citizen have never really been about what's easy to build, so I really hope they were able to address that. So
I actually feel a little bit differently for that. Like if you go around and start like tasering or beating up a bunch of people on the street, it's going to be a lot more egregious than if you beat one person up. But at the same time, if you look at Star Citizen, if you start like if we're hitting a caterpillar or we're hitting anyone and we're just constantly bludgeoning them with our non-lethal, I mean, we really should gain crime stat for that, because our intent is to basically rob them, and I mean that should elicit a response. Now the problem is players don't never run with escorts. They don't care, and I think that's going to change, but like there's never going to be a fast enough response even from bounty hunters. If we come with no crime stat and we hit somebody, we will be gone before anybody comes and tries to get us. So I still think it's okay that we get a lot of stacked crimes, other than the fact that you look at your crime stat and you go, this is going to take me an hour to clear in security post, but if I just go suicide via a turret, I'm going to get a declesher in 20 minutes to an hour, which is really 5 seconds because we have merits.
Yeah, but my point is that like your crime should be upgraded. Like if you're assaulting someone and it leads to a deadly outcome, that assault gets upgraded to a more severe charge. It doesn't stack, so you don't get 2 charges.
No,
you still get 1
right.
charge, but it's more severe. It's get upgraded.
And the main problem about that is that when you need to hack it, to remove the crime stat, if you have like 100 charges, so painful to remove, it's probably better to just go in prison, wait,
Exactly. Yeah. That was my point. But yeah, no, you're right. It should stack in a different way that makes the crime more egregious than just having like 1,000, assault charges.
Because like taking down a caterpillar can take a couple of minutes, and during the time, and like you just keep hammering the caterpillar with EMPs, and then you get another crime stat, another crime added to your list for every EMP or fire. Like this, it's not reasonable. And like you can eventually probably end up with a crime stat 5 just by doing misdemeanors and just letting them stack, which is also like something that should be addressed.
kind of strain into the territory of the third point. I want to kind of just stay away from that for now, because there's actually some really good points that are coming out of this that I think we could actually propose to CRG on improving for the criminal gameplay experience without actually wrecking it too much. So I guess, like, in regards to current consequences, like when you guys are performing a hit, you've identified like doing EMPs on a target, building up all those multiple charges against yourselves as you're hitting, like a caterpillar carrack, whatever. Like, do you guys ever feel like you're under an imminent threat of security forces showing up, or bounty hunters or anything like that when you're doing a hit?
Not really, no. So the thing is, the current law system is not really deterring us from doing what we're doing. Prison and bounty hunters, they're not deterrents, they're challenges. Because Star Citizen is, is a game, and games are supposed to be fun, they're supposed to be challenging. So it makes sense that a law system, they're not deterrents, they're not going to stop us from doing what we're doing. However, it makes sense for the game to add challenges. Like bounty hunters is a challenge to what we do. Avoiding Klesher is a challenge, but Klesher itself is not a deterrent, at least not for us, because we have chosen the criminal career path. So we know of the consequences, and we're ready to meet those challenges.
Just to make sure that everyone knows what the consequences are. If we are playing as a group, and we are playing, maybe you don't have enough time to play during the day, you just play a couple hours during the night, you do some piracy. If you get a crime stat and you die, that's it. Unless the org has merits to get you out, usually it's gone, your time is gone. And that's a real consequence, Even when you're playing as a group with your friends, so many times I had my friends leaving me because we couldn't get them out. So it was, okay, I need to play solo. And yeah, that's a big consequence, guys.
And I think it's an effective one too. I mean, if the idea is to try to limit the crimes, it works. It does work.
Yeah.
And
I would say
even... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say it deters the people that are not really willing to improve enough to overcome these challenges.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, criminals are better players. They just are.
I just found the intro. Well, we're still early on in the video. I might find another one. So yeah, I guess. So in regards to like the consequences for piracy, you guys are of the general consensus is a bit mixed at the moment, where you're not too worried about like the law system, prison, and the consequences of what's going on, but you acknowledge the fact that it can actually take you out of the game loop quite quickly, especially if you're just starting the gameplay session. Now, like we know that there are methods to be able to mitigate against this, being turning off comma rays. Do you guys feel like that's something that something that for us as pirates is something that should be iterated on, improved on, or like is it good enough for now? Like, what are you guys' thoughts on that one?
I think for now I was gonna say like for now it's pretty well balanced, because like the comma ray is a double-edged sword. Like if the comma ray is off, then you can hit your targets, don't get a crime stat for it, but at the same time, if the comma ray is not online, the targets will know, and they will probably just leave the area. So like there are good things and bad things about taking down a comma ray. Like the targets could just fly away to an area that has a comma ray if they know it's offline. They might not want to operate in an area without comma ray.
Man, I agree. But what I need to see improved for the comma rays is that when you reactivate the comma ray, it's not just one creeping click, it's one click to reactivate the comma ray, and you cannot even interrupt it. So once they click reactivate, that's it. They just leave the area 5 minutes and the comma ray is back online. Why do we have to spend a crypto key, time, risk our lives, disable it, and then just have someone click one click and leave? You know, I want to see a way to interrupt the reactivation.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess if nobody does know, you could just take the unauthorized surveillance mission, and just sort of sneak in there without getting a trespassing, which would give you a crime stat 1, which, as we said earlier, is a problem. So I mean, this bleeds into a little bit of staying ahead of the law, but I feel like doing the comma ray has its place. I feel like if we're going to be hitting people that are right beside an outpost, they're not going to notice that the comma ray is down because they're mining near an outpost. That's ridiculous. So, I mean, pro tip, you shouldn't be mining near an outpost.
As with everything, like, there's usually a way to circumvent the law system. And so one thing that you mentioned, that it's really pretty weird thing if you think about it. Like, you accept the illegal surveillance mission, which means that you can enter a comma ray without getting a crime stat. You turn the comma ray off. When you turn it off, or when you start hacking the comma ray, what happens is that it spawns a mission for someone to pick up, where they can go to the comma ray and turn it on again. However, if you're still hacking the comma ray and then the lawful player shows up and shoots you, if you don't have a crime stat, that person will now be a criminal and get a crime stat and be declared an outlaw because he shot the person that was hacking the comma ray. Because that person,
he's clearly a dirty criminal. He shot us.
Yeah. So like that's like one example of like a broken law system where it's easy for us to circumvent the law and avoid getting a crime stat. And that is something that we think about all the time when we operate. Like, if we hit a target, we make sure that, if possible, as few people as possible get the crime stats. So when we have secured a prize, that the prize is being moved and handled by people that don't have bounties and preferably don't even have crime stats. And then the people with bounties, they go to another area. So if bounty hunters do show up, they're nowhere near the prize that we has captured.
Yeah, some really good points there. So I guess the last point that I want to kind of make with the crime and the consequences for your actions. Do you think, and this kind of delves into a completely different topic and can be a rabbit hole, so try not to dive in too far, but do you think that the rewards that we gain from doing piracy fit the consequences that we suffer if we fail?
Hell no. I mean, hell no. You could make way more credits just mining or running missions.
Even doing missions, yeah.
Like, it's not worth anything. We do it for the fun, really. We do it because this is the gameplay loop that we want to do. We want to be pirates, and I don't want to bleed too much into what I think CIG should do, but like, if we get a Caterpillar, we should be able to sell all of its cargo or steal all of it off of it, because that's where money is, right? We didn't pay for that, so we don't have any investment into it. We should be able to reap the benefits from it, because the amount of people that it takes and the amount of coordination and the amount of crime stat we get, it's very heavy. I mean, we don't make a lot of money doing it. We do it because this is what we want to do.
Like, if we can sell the full contents of a Caterpillar and make, I don't know, what could we make from that? Like 1.5, 2 million? Like, depends over 1 million credits. Then sure, give us all crime stat 5s. That is fine, because we make a lot of money doing it.
You know, I need to think that there must be some balance. Like, the black market should buy commodities, all commodities, but with a smaller percentage. So like 70% of the total value, but you can sell all of it at the black market terminal. You know, that way, even if you rob a full Caterpillar, it's good, super good profit, but it's not like legit profit.
I mean, even if it's you sell it as as the reduced rate, it's still good money because you paid nothing
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
it. Like you paid with your risk. Like what we pay for that.
It's
Basically,
time,
we pay
man.
we pay with our time, and we might pay with our lives and spending time in Clasher for doing that. That's what we pay. To
Time is the only commodity in game for me, man.
Yeah.
And I think that if I spend 1 hour scouting for miners and my miner is mining since 1 hour and I pirate him, I think my time has been worth the time I spent, you know. But if I hit 30k, I lost 1 hour as the miner. We lost the same, you know. Even if I didn't have any gems and he had 800 gems, with 30k, we lost the same, 1 hour.
Yeah, it's actually funny when we were actually sometimes pirating rock miners, and we actually, like 3-4 of us sit there for him to fatten up. I mean, we're 4 people watching one guy mine so that we can make a little bit more money on it. So when we could all be 4 of us be mining and making 4 times, actually probably 12 times the amount, because criminals are better players and we can mine way faster than most people.
Yeah, and then it turns out they only mine Dollavine.
Oh my gosh, don't start with the Dollavine.
I've seen Aphorite as well, guys.
Oh, please stop.
All right, I think we've covered a fair bit for crime and consequence. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll just end this segment here. Alrighty then, so the next topic that we're going to be talking about is staying one step ahead of the law. So this discussion point is more about like how you actually achieve that within the current iteration of Star Citizen now. We kind of started touching on it when we were talking about the common race stuff, but what do you guys do to stay one step ahead of the law when you're doing piracy?
Oh,
Well,
man.
my favorite way is to provoke people. Like, if you don't want a crime stat, you get them to hit you first, and now they have a crime stat. That's my absolute favorite.
Like
You know-
the obvious answer is don't have a crime stat. Don't make sure that the law is not looking for you. But like that only works like until you have hit the target. So like when you're stalking a target, for example, it really helps not to have a crime stat. Like if you're doing stealth gameplay, then you can stalk the target as long as they don't see you and you don't turn up red. Nothing bad is really going to happen to you. But like, yes, deploy different strategies of not getting a crime stat, and like Nolat said, like, you have to make sure that they get a crime stat before you do. Like you let them fire the first shot. You let them attack you with the mining laser first.
Or you fly in between them and the mining laser, and then suddenly they have the crime stat.
Yeah, and that's a consequence of the intense lobbying we have seen on Spectrum from the crowd that doesn't like PvP gameplay, because they wanted really harsh punishments for any kind of misdemeanor. So naturally, of course, even if your mining laser touches another ship for a second, you'll get a crime stat for it, and that's a consequence of the current law system. And that is absolutely something that we have tried and can do, and is fully okay, because that is within the parameters of the game at the moment.
And another part about it is understanding when you get a crime stat number 3, because that's when those god eyes start happening, and that's when you got bounty hunters. So you can get away with a little bit between having no crime stat and just below crime stat 3, aka crime stat 2. So understanding where you are in that is where you can end up staying one step ahead of what you need to do. Another, like my favorite part about staying ahead of the law is to just play the law. It's to, when you hear somebody in global chat saying, "Hey, I gotta get this bounty hunter," or "I gotta be a bounty hunter. I'm gonna be the Mandalorian. I'm gonna go down to security depot number 1 at Hurston, and I take out the target." Little does he know, there's 2 of us in there, and one of us goes up, waits till he gets down there, call to arms, and shoots him in the face, because now he's a trespassing, which is somehow a crime stat number 1 if it's not just the first trespassing, but the second one. And you shoot him in the face and he goes to Klesher. So I mean, it's not exactly fair for them, but again, criminals are better players. They understand the law system a lot better, and they'll play you to it. So, staying one step ahead of the law is to understand the law, understand what everything does, and then to execute on it.
Yeah, I think that as Magma said before, we are highlighting what's wrong with the current law system, and these are some examples. But just to be ahead of the law, you can play with the comma race, so you can disable them before doing any crimes to completely avoid the issue. But then it's easy to reactivate them. Or when you get a crime stat, because if you get one, you must know that someone is gonna follow you because they've got a marker on you, even in FPS. So that's super risky, and you need to play around it. You need to, as we said before, if someone has a crime stat in the team, we just move him away so he can bait the bounty hunters in a different direction, and the team can move the cargo. That's the good part. So always know what you're going against.
I mean, like there are many different strategies you can deploy for as diversions for bounty hunters. So like if you have people in your group that have bounties, then you can make sure to just send them to another moon, so the bounty hunters go there and they're not really gonna look for the rest of the group. Like basically divert their attention to other places.
Do you guys feel like it's difficult to stay ahead of the law at all?
I think
currently the law is very predictable. Like both the coded AI law is very predictable. You know pretty much exactly how they operate, but also like player bounty hunters, they're also very predictable. Because they have the god marker, so they follow that without thinking most of the time.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there's a time where I don't know what my actions will do, and I don't think there's a time where I know what crimes I have will cause what, so I'm never surprised. You already know what you have to do when you do something. So staying ahead of the law is not difficult. When you have a crime stat 3, you either gotta make it a crime stat 5, or you need to just go get rid of it.
And you know how long it takes for bounty hunters to come to your location. So if you're hitting a miner on a moon in the Hurston system, for example, then you know that roughly how many minutes you have before the bounty hunters start showing up. And a lot of bounty hunters, they show up in vanguards, and vanguards are really bad in atmosphere. So if you're in a ship that operates really well in atmosphere, then sometimes they don't want to actually go after you. So a couple of days ago, I observed a bounty hunter. He was after me, but he didn't want to go down to aerial because he didn't want to fly in atmosphere. He has stayed in space for me to come up because he knew that I would beat him in atmosphere.
And another thing that is important, I think, is the mindset, because many times as an outlaw, can happen. You can die. You can go to jail, maybe no one can save you, whatever. You need to get used to failure because it can happen. So I think that what we do should be done by everyone, like even a trader. If a 30k happens, or if if a pirate is attacking you or whatever, just deal with it. We do it. Other players can do it as well, and it's just mindset.
And I think actually the mask event that they had for Halloween helped a lot because it made people more comfortable with PvP and being hunted by bounty hunters. At least that was the case for me. Like I got way more comfortable flying the gladiators, but also being hunted by bounty hunters and enjoying it instead of just being nervous and afraid of having a bounty. It's something like, okay, I know it's very predictable now. I know exactly how many minutes I have before the bounty hunters show up. And sometimes they're too slow, and that's a little boring, because then you just wait for them.
Yeah, the system that we have now is predictable, so that's why we can actually exploit it as we do.
So, alright, what would you do? What would you guys like? We're kind of going into the topic a little bit for topic number 3, where what would you like to improve for criminal gameplay, but what's one thing that you guys would like to see happen in regards to criminals being able to stay ahead of the law a little bit more, like based on what we're currently dealing with now?
I would say
Well-
add a tick rate to the God Eye. So currently the God Eye is updating in real time, and I think it would make more sense if we're gonna have a God Eye, at least give it a tick rate. So it updates every 10 seconds, every 30 seconds. So the bounty hunter doesn't know in real time where you are. He knows that, okay, this guy was here 30 seconds ago or 1 minute ago, but not necessarily in real time. Like if they're gonna have a God marker, please add a tick rate to it.
Yeah, I had to agree with that too. The biggest problem is that bounty hunters know exactly where you are at every second. So, I mean, really they should have like some sort of tracking in there. I know that's what bounty hunters probably want to. They want to be able to trail people's quantum signature, all that stuff. That all the scanning, it all has to be in there.
And
They
want
have the
that as
crossbow.
well.
Yeah, they have the crossbow on the roadmap, so they should really add a tracking device, a tracking arrow to the crossbow, so you can just fire it at the target's ship, and then you track it. That
Yeah,
would be
you
pretty
must
cool.
give it some counterplay, so like FPS scanning or something that will detect it, or something that you can see visually, because there must be some counterplay to it. It's a tool that can be used by both bounty hunters and pirates, so that's the nice thing,
Or like disable the God Eye when you're no longer in the ship, because like it kind of makes sense that they can track your ship if the ship is
Yeah.
if the comrade can see the ship, then it kind of makes sense that it's feeding data about your location. But like when you get out of the ship, the God Eye should stop updating. When you go down into a bunker, it should be outside of the range, so it should no longer update. There are a lot of like nuances they could add to the bounty hunter gameplay that would make it more challenging and more fun for both the pirates and the bounty hunters. Because like I don't think the bounty hunters want it too easy either.
Yeah, I don't think they just want to show up and try to shoot you. Like, I think if they had a tracking loop, it would be a lot more fun for them.
Yeah, I think the problem now is that the profession is not really a profession. It's more like you have a fighter ship, okay, accept the mission, move, fire some missiles, move on to the next one, repeat.
You have a Vanguard Sentinel, because
yeah.
that's what they all fly.
Yeah, man, don't tell me.
Cheap and effective.
They don't
So-
come down with one railgun shot.
Yeah. All right. Before we finish off this topic, because this one's fairly quick, to be honest, this particular topic is more something that you'd want to see in a tutorial video, but I think it'd be worth asking here because there's a bit more nuance to it than what people realize. If you guys had to give one tip, only one each, and it must be different between all three of you, in regards to staying one step ahead of the law, what would it be?
Remember that
I
you
would
have a
say-
crime stat and the bounty, and yeah, you need to think that at every second someone is watching you. So play with that in mind until you remove it.
Buy nothing
don't-
but
yeah.
ice picks.
I would say
Yeah.
try not to kill the target. Don't get a crime stat 3. Just try to settle for the misdemeanors, crime stat 1, crime stat 2. Avoid getting a bounty in your head. Yeah, like you can still secure. You can still secure the prize most of the time without killing the target, without getting a bounty in your head.
So, first one, be paranoid. Assume you're always being watched.
Yeah.
Second one, buy the best crypto key that you can afford, being the ice picks, because you should be able to afford it if you're a criminal. As long as you're not a criminal pirate. And the last one, if you are going to get a crime stat, try and mitigate the crime stat that you end up with, and try and make sure that you don't get a bounty. Some solid advice there. Alright, so I think that's enough about staying one step ahead of the law. I think if we went any further, we'd start going into the realm of tutorials, which I think it deserves more a dedicated video, which we may end up doing in the future at some point. Coolio Beanios. Alright, so the next topic that we're going to be discussing now is what would you like to see CIG do to improve the criminal gameplay experience in the next 6 to 12 months. Now, I need to put a caveat on this one. This channel, or this particular series, is not about the pie in the sky theory crafting. This needs to be something that CIG can action and achieve within that 6 to 12 month time frame, based on previous experience with what we've seen them aim for and what they've actually been able to produce. It may vary, but let's just assume that everything is going right for CIG at this time, and they literally, Chris Roberts has seen your suggestion and gone, we're doing this right now, and he's just done up a whole bunch of Jira tasks. What would you guys like to see in regards to improving the criminal gameplay experience in the next 6 to 12 months?
Guys, I'd like to start off with this one. There is something that I'd really like to see improved, and it's the whole crime stat mechanic. I think that it should be decaying over time and should be working in a different way. So I think there should be a differentiation between crime stat and criminal record. I think the crime stat should be what brings bounty hunters to you, that gives you the heat, that makes everyone, the security, show up, and you cannot land on any landing zones and all that wonderful stuff. But if you don't do anything, and if you're not spotted by any security ship for an X amount of time, like 20 minutes, I don't know, you can see this crime stat decaying. You can go to 0 crime stat and 100 criminal charges. At this point, I think that a bounty hunter should still have a bounty on you, but until you get back into monitored space, or you show up with a security scan or anything like that, I think you shouldn't be spotted by bounty hunters. So you need to make this differentiation between heat and the reputation that a pirate has. And to improve the bounty hunter experience in this regard, I think the bounty should be valued on the criminal record, not on the crime stat. Now the bounty reward is going between 10, 15, and 20k, depending on 3, 4, or 5 crime stats that you have. But I think there should be a difference between a guy that is a mass murderer, killing 100 people and having 100 homicide charges, and a guy that just did a couple missions and then has a lot of trespassing charges, And this way, you should give like a specific value to every charge. So like homicide is 3k, trespassing is 500 units, 500 credits, And then you build up the value, the reward of the bounty in that way. So bounty hunting becomes more rewarding. You understand how to who you are tracking, if it's a dangerous criminal or if it's just a random guy. And for us, it's really nice because we can finally roll around with maybe a lot of charges, but we're clean. We don't have any heat, and we don't have security that keeps spawning on top of us. The problem that we have with the current system is that once you have a crime stat, even if you stay away from the law for a month, you still have that crime stat. So you must remove it. That there is no other way. And I think it's not realistic, because at some point the security forces will have to move on to a next target, onto the better one. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It sounds similar to Grand Theft Auto, and it makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
One of the things I really like is that you're basically saying in one way that bounty hunters should get paid more if we do more crimes. And I think that's right, because you could go do a comma ray mission for like 20k, or you could go after somebody who's got a crime, level 5 crime stat, who's probably pretty good, and it's worth the same amount. I think bounty hunters should honestly be paid a bit more,
especially if you use the system that Magma was suggesting with the tick rate. So it's
make it a little more difficult.
You spend more time, and it's worth.
Yeah. Something like that I would like to be improved was like they should re-examine the crimes at 1 and 2 for like minor crimes and misdemeanors, and convert them. Many of them can be converted into fines, because currently, like, you get a crime stat 1 and you're declared an outlaw for just some misfire, like friendly fire. If you see a group of NPCs fighting, and right now it's not really worth getting involved, because the chance that one of your bullets will hit one of the security NPCs, they're pretty high. Even though if you're using gimbal weapons, like, some of those bullets will land somewhere where they're not supposed to, and you will get a crime stat 1 for it. So it's not really worth it. Then they should re-examine those lesser crimes and convert them into fines. So you're not declared an outlaw for that. And then, like, if you have a crime stat 1 or 2, then people will not try to kill you. Instead, they will force you to surrender. And then if you fire back, then obviously you will get a crime stat 3, and then they will no longer try to make you surrender, because if you have a crime stat 5, chances are they have given up to make you surrender. But, like, if you have a crime stat 1 or 2, they should definitely give you the opportunity to, like, give up, pay the fines, and avoid jail time. Because, like, if you're a real criminal player, if your goal is only to shoot people and do dogfighting all day, or if you're a pirate and your goal is to steal people's stuff, then a crime stat 1 or 2 is not really not going to deter you from doing crime in the first place. Like, the crime stats 1 and 2, they're only going to deter the people, or it's mostly it's going to happen to the people that never intended to break the law in the first place. Like, people that they wanted to do a lawful mission, and then they suddenly misfired, and they have a crime stat 1 now. Like, you can't really deter people from things that are not intentional. And if you're a griefer, or like a real griefer that they just want to kill people, then you're not going to stop at crime stat 1 or 2. Like, you're going for the 5. So, like, that system is not going to stop them. Like, it's only going to hit the players that never really intended to get a crime stat in the first place.
But, if you change the system, like I mentioned, with the hit basing on the crime stat, that is decaying. Even if you get 1 or 2 points of crime stat, that's okay, because they are gonna decay pretty quickly. So that's like a possible
And then they can just
solution.
fly to a space station and pay off their fines, and everything is good.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That would work very well.
And we already brought up that they shouldn't stack crimes together. They should upgrade the crimes and not stack
into categories.
them. Add a tick rate to the God Eye for bounty hunters. And that shouldn't be a very, very difficult task either. Like, that should be a minor gyro task for CNG to do.
The one thing that I really want to see is more places that criminals can land. Because and also on that subject, Grim Hex should be shooting at bounty hunters, because they're just going to be waiting outside the hangars with a torp.
Yeah.
I really hope that will be included in the reputation system. That if you are a member of the bounty hunter guild, then Grim Hex will fire on you because you are a member of that guild.
Yeah, I think having the choice to be either a criminal / pirate / whatever, or a bounty hunter, I think that's a really good way to not exactly make the criminal system 3-dimensional, but to put it in a way that separates being a criminal from where your reputation is, right? So, and that's what I think that they're probably getting somewhere in that range with the reputation system, but being able to iterate that in the next 6 to 12 months, I don't think would be that difficult. You might be able to just sort of choose a side or set of sides, and then now you have a little bit more options. Now, might be not exactly a thing for Stanton, but I mean, we're still in a testing phase. So I think that's something that they could probably do probably closer to 12 months.
And speaking of things that are planned and that are on the roadmap, and things that I think will not happen, because if you read Spectrum and you read and you check and you keep track of the other Discord servers where a lot of Care Bears hang around, a lot of people are hoping that the security system. So if you look at the roadmap, there's a security system planned, and it's on the roadmap Not really sure when it will be deployed, but it's on the roadmap at least. And the security system is basically like you're able to lock certain rooms, so you can lock the bridge, so unauthorized people cannot enter the bridge. And I've seen that some people that don't like PvP, they think and they hope that this will lock out pirates from their ships. So they basically they add like modules like security turrets and locks to the doors, so pirates cannot board your ship and take your ship, and they think everything will be fine and dandy because no one can take their ship because now there are security systems in place. Ships. I don't think that's going to be that easy because, like, if you look what CFG has done in the past, they want to balance everything. And if you look at what they have shown us on Inside Star Citizen, it was just a couple of weeks ago they showed breaching charges. So I think with the security system, we will also get the breaching charges. So ship owners will be able to lock the doors, but at the same time, they will also give pirates charges so they can blow up those doors and get inside. And I think that's perfectly valid way of designing a game, because like game is supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be challenging, and they can't just add deterrents and blockers that prevents a category of players to play the game like some of the anti-PvP players want. Like if they get security systems, we will also get breaching charges, so we can breach those security systems. And so basically adding more challenges. And I don't mind that at all. Like the game needs to be challenging and it needs to be fun to play for everyone.
Yeah, and I think that moving forward, all the gameplay will just become even more complex, like with the breaching system and the security locks. And because of that, I think they really need to focus in the next 6 to 12 months on balancing the PvE and PvP rewards from piracy that come from piracy. So I'm saying about when you steal someone caterpillar, you can move the cargo and take it, sell to the black market terminal. So we need the ability to move and or sell the cargo that we steal. And maybe we can do it with NPCs as well. That could be a tier 0 implementation if they want. We can, capture an NPC caterpillar like we do against a player, and then move the boxes from the caterpillar to our ships. And then because of this, NPC trading ships now are only carrying scrap and agricultural supplies or stuff like that, very cheap stuff. And we need NPCs to carry more important commodities, more valuable commodities. More profit from piracy, guys. That's what we need.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, and I'm going to go back to the criminal gameplay side of this. I think that stealing somebody's cargo should have a criminal charge on it. Maybe it blends in a little bit to the into like a security gameplay. So like, let's say you have some security people outside of Grimhex because that's where they're going to be hiding, and then they scan you and see you have stolen goods. You should get a crime stat for that, and that's fine, just as long as we can sell those stolen goods. I still think there should be more crimes for those kind of stuff.
That's already the case. Like if we steal Hadanite from someone and we fly to Everest and they scan us, we'll get a crime stat for that because the Hadanite is stolen. So that's already in place. However, there's a workaround for it. If someone is carrying the box, then it will not show up in scanners. So that's a
The thing is, why would you go to Everest? You can't even sell it there.
Yeah, and also like you shouldn't go to Everest because the security will scan you and find the stolen cargo on your ship. Like if you have stolen goods on your ship, you shouldn't go to Everest, and that makes sense.
I'd also like to see some creepy fucking missions that I can use to remove my crime stat easier. You get to 5 crime stat, and sometimes you have so many crimes that it's easier to go to jail and pay your sentence than removing the crime stat one by one. Once I spent more than 1 hour removing the crimes, and I think that's really, really stupid because it's easier to go to prison. And I'd like to see a way to increase the speed of which you can remove your crime stat, or a system like a mission system or something that helps you on removing the crimes. Because now when you have a certain amount of crimes, the only way is the prison. It doesn't even make sense to remove them, you know?
Or
It's
a
probably
pay
faster
option.
to go to, yeah, it's probably as faster to go to prison, escape, and then clear a crime stat, because then everything is just bundled into one.
Yeah.
Actively incarcerated.
Yeah.
I think another
Yeah,
thing
but like
that
that should be solved if they just stop stacking crimes on top of each other.
What were you about to say, Nolat?
I think another thing that really would be great for the criminal gameplay is, now on the roadmap there is surrender, but we should be able to do it as pirate. We should be able to say, do you surrender, and maybe put a value to it. And then we could basically extort people through the system instead of, I mean, how many times do we try to contact somebody and they basically hang up, and then they immediately cry in Spectrum as soon as you end up disabling their ship and taking their stuff.
Man, that's my dream. Having a notification that we can send to other players, like pay 50k or die, accept, decline with the left bracket or the right bracket. That's it.
Yeah,
Easy
even
and
if that
fast.
is, even if that says we're going to get a crime stat for doing that, that's fine.
I mean, there are a lot of things that they need to improve UI wise that are not specific to pirate play or criminal gameplay. It's just like general UI updates that needs to happen. Like when you call someone, it's very easy to dismiss because you get these annoying messages at the top of the window all the time, and most people just ignore them. Like if someone is calling you, it should be right in your face. It should be like it should be like it should ring, and then it should like blink, and it's like,
Incoming
hey,
call.
someone is trying to contact you. This is probably really important. You should pick up. Very similar to like if someone is calling you on Messenger, then like it's very obvious that it's calling because like your phone is vibrating, it is making a sound, and the whole screen says please pick up. And
Yeah,
that's what
Mongrel
CIG
Squad
needs to
has
do.
sent you an invoice.
And like if someone is calling you, it needs to be very apparent that someone is actually calling you. It is not. And also like you don't even have like an inbox for unread messages. Like if you see like pop-up after pop-up, like I have unread messages. I have 20 unread messages. Maybe it's something important. Maybe I should check this out. Like they need to make it more apparent and make more obvious that what is going on, and also communicate back to us when someone really don't want to talk to us. They don't want our communication. I think it also needs to be more obvious to us that this person hung up on us. They have read the messages and they don't want to respond. Then it also makes it easier for us to know that this target does not want to cooperate.
Let's be real here, though. Most of the people that we've hit, whenever we've been trying to contact them, they won't, like, most of them aren't interested in responding. They've just got their blinkers on and going. They're going to see those 20 messages after they explode. And then they're going to be like, oh, I was getting pirated. Because a lot of people are in this mindset that they're still playing that single-player game. It's interesting though, like that you guys have brought this up, because I ended up creating like a little recruitment video a couple of years back that actually showcased a Cutlass Black getting contacted, and it was literally that scenario where an MFD popped up and it was a message from Mongrel Squad, and it was like pay or die, accept or die as the button choices. So it's kind of funny that you guys bring that up now. So there's quite a varied bunch of things that I guess have been brought up here in regards to things that we can improve for the criminal gameplay experience. A lot of them to do with so far with like how we handle rewards, because anybody who does piracy to the same degree as what we are in the pursuit of profit understands that a lot of the time it's not that profitable. So being able to like essentially bring that up so that the profit margin makes sense with the risks that we're taking, kind of like streamlining the criminal system in a way that, or sorry, not the criminal system, but the law system, so that our charges, instead of like being a huge list of like the same thing over and over again, essentially just weight them as levels. So, you know, like if you got 10 aggravated assaults, it shouldn't be 10 aggravated, you know, separate aggravated assaults. It should be like a, you know, serious aggravated assault or something like that, you know, because if you hit someone 10 times, that's pretty serious. And then there's a few, I guess, nuances where like things that I guess everybody could benefit from in regards to, you know, like UI updates in terms of communication. Like being able to communicate as pirates is very important for us, especially when we're in the current state of Star Citizen, where when we're trying to hit targets, it's one of those things where it's like it's very ambiguous for us when it comes to hitting a target. If they're responding when it's like a cargo hauler or a miner that's a prospector or a mole, because there's no real way for us to know if they've accepted the call until we've actually seen it pop up. And a lot of the time people just reject it. So, you know, like that idea being brought forth, you know, something that pops up that says, you know, provides them the option straight away. Without me going too far into this, if there was only one thing at all that you guys could improve, so you guys are like super developers now for CIG, and they put you in charge of one improvement that you could do for criminal gameplay, what would it be?
Give the ability to sell stolen cargo. That's it.
Leevah got the easy one.
I would remove most of the misdemeanors and minor crimes that currently give you crimes like 1 or 2, and just convert them into fines, and making sure that just unintended actions does not render you an outlaw.
I think I may have stumped Nolat.
Honestly, I just want money for stolen cargo, and I think if that's Leevah's, I would fix cargo so that they can actually buy it.
Yeah, fix the economy, man.
That's a good point.
Give Laranite to everyone so we can take it from them.
You know, we have the new Hercules incoming, so if CIG accidentally creates unlimited amount of Laranite, we wouldn't mind, and I'm pretty sure the cargo haulers wouldn't mind either. I'm pretty sure.
You know what? I'm gonna take that back. I want EMP missiles. I want a way to disable a ship, or like even have distortions be able to actually disable something, because you can pound it for hours, it does nothing. So I think that honestly the distortion gameplay for pirates is not really good. I think that having to constantly EMP something over and over, if we could kill something in 5 seconds with attritions, we should be able to disable something even within 30 seconds with distortion scatter guns.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Cool. All right then. Well, I think we've covered enough across all these topics. So thank you very much for watching, guys. On my right, your left, we've got Magma Hindenburg all the way over there. We've got Nolat, still looking a bit thin and a bit worse for wear, but he's still here. And the railgun connoisseur, the bounty marker follower's nightmare, Leevah himself. I'm Agent Letty. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and we'll transition over to the end of this show. We hope that this has provided some insight into the thoughts of pirate players about crime and consequence within Star Citizen. Next month's topic of discussion is Making Piracy Work. If you have any questions or points you would like discussed on the topic of Making Piracy Work, feel free to drop them in the comments below. If you like what you saw, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you get to see our new content drops that we put out on a weekly basis. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time when the Mongrel Court is in session.